It's time for the season 2 Succession recap. Boop,
Beep,
boop,
beep,
boop,
beep, beep.
boop. No, that was very Blue's Clues. We are silly girlies.
We got to infuse the dark subject material with some levity. So
With some marshmallow cream.
Make that a sex joke because we're talking about Succession.
See, I didn't want it to be a sex joke. And then I was like, can you say inject marshmallow cream without it somehow becoming...
We're not reading mail today, but we are reading the next best thing, which is Reddit posts and reviews of season 2.
Who misses 2019 AV Club post-episode recaps?
Was Tumblr still a thing in 2019? Because I feel like Tumblr posts would have gone hard for Succession.
No, I think by that point they had banned all the stuff. Instagram and Snapchat?
Yeah, that was peak Snapchat time, right?
Speaking of Snapchat, Logan Roy would have the filthiest. Because we're not consuming spoilers, we are not getting all the theories and philosophizing and what happened along the way. So we wanted to pull some of that in because we know back in 2019, all you nerds were wondering, where is this going?
Once we finish all 4 seasons, I would be shocked if somebody has not written a doctoral thesis on this show and how it ties into historical events and things like that. So we got to look into that.
So we went back in time on the internet and we pulled up original reviews and recaps from October 2019, from when Succession Season 2 ended. The AV Club's title is just great. Succession's blood sacrifice defies the gods in a stunning season finale.
Damn. Logan did reference literal child sacrifice in his little speech. So
I know. Also, they gave this episode an A-. What does it take to get an A+? There's been ample chatter about the theoretical structure of Succession. That season 1 was Kendall's, and season 2 was Shiv's, and season 3 will probably be Roman's.
Okay, we kind of got at that last time we talked about Succession with this idea of who's quote unquote in favor with Logan, which is very, tenuous, but who is serving Logan, who has the most opportunity for power. Wait a minute. Does that mean that season 4 is Connor's? Because no. I
think it's going to be Greg's.
Okay.
Because nobody factors Connor in.
Yeah.
This is all about how Kendall broke his chains when we expected the season to end with Shiv's coronation. I didn't really expect that, honestly. I always thought she was throwing it away the whole season.
Even towards the middle of the season, we were screaming at our screens Shiv, it's not you anymore. How can you not see that?
Right, what are you doing? What are you pushing for? And Kendall mistook his father's affection for love when it was something murkier. Logan does love Kendall, but as Naomi so succinctly puts it, he loves the broken Kendall.
Yeah, I think a contingency for a relationship with Logan is subservience and neediness. That has to be there. It can't be... He can't treat them as adults on equal footing.
He says he trusts him, but Kendall knows where that trust comes from. Logan trusts him not because he values him, but because he knows he can ruin him. Yes. Logan is cruel for so many reasons, but chief among them is that he'd frame such a thing through a patina of love.
This is an interesting thing that I think one of our commenters pointed out. So they were saying that in the scene where Logan is telling Kendall, yeah, it's you, buddy, you're going to take the fall for this. They were saying that you could see Kendall's face make the decision to betray him, which I don't think is something that we picked up on. And I'm curious if people agree with that being the moment, or if it was earlier, or if it was more spontaneous. I want to know where people stand on that, because I'm not sure how I feel about it.
So you connected the Greg thing real time. I wasn't sure, but this confirms that yes, it all. But this author says, when did Greg tell him about the incriminating documents? Why did Greg tell Kendall? And why was Greg flying back to the States with Kendall in the first place?
That is so interesting, because I think we assumed okay, Greg is just kind of a lackey, so that let's send him
Yeah.
to keep an eye on Kendall or whatever. And we assumed that he gave him the documents on the plane. But those aren't necessarily true, are
Right. And
they?
who made we didn't see who made the decision to put Greg as the person with him. What if it was like
Yeah.
Frank? What if it was Tom?
Somebody else might know in addition to those two. Like somebody else might be in their
Mm.
little team. And this leads me down a path of some unanswered questions that I jotted down when I was thinking about the season. Like in terms of the forces that are working against the Roys, we also know that somebody has been funding the whistleblower. And someone in the comments said, it sounds like Ewan. That's very possible, but
Hmm.
is it just him? Is it somebody else? Is it not him? Are we ever going to find out?
Do Ewan and Stewie know each other? Also, remember way back, I think it was mostly season one, where we would get those scenes of Greg walking past like two important people talking. I don't remember them all now, but obviously those things were setting the stage for Greg to be like this collector of information inadvertently, and like nobody
Yeah.
notices him.
Dude, I really do think that I think we've said this somewhat facetiously in the past, but I'm starting to really think that Greg is going to hold all the power towards the end of this series just because like you said, he is constantly sort of lurking. He quietly earns favor with different people. Like there was a scene in
Mm-hmm.
season 1 where they were in the hospital and Greg was supposed to bring the contracts for whatever power play was happening and he was
Right,
like,
but then
"Oh,
he
I
brought them to
forgot."
Shiv or yeah.
Yeah.
Because he
Mhm.
is always around and he does work for the company and he is kind of family. So why aren't they concerned?
And what's so wild to me is every now and then I remember the pilot where it's like they don't have a relationship with him. He just like
He just
shows
showed
up
up.
and he's like, "Hey, great uncle, like happy birthday." And everyone's
Right. Can
just
I
like,
stay here
"Okay."
now? And they're all like, I guess. And then he's just like around, right? How did he end up on the
Yeah.
yacht?
I know.
You know,
With
there are
his
people
toes.
at Royco who are like, Greg's on the
Yeah. I've been working here for 20 years, god damn it. How come I'm not on the yacht?
yacht? Okay, we have to talk about I'm not a hippie, Shiv. He cries in a moment that's as funny as it is oddly sweet. I don't want to have threesomes.
Ah, yes, when I think hippie, I think Shiv Roy.
Where will Tom and Shiv land next season? Does he really want to divorce a Roy? No, but he wants to divorce Shiv, and that is the thing.
I really do think our prediction after the finale is going to be spot on, which is, oh, they're still married, but they just sleep in separate rooms and don't speak to each other, and it's a business arrangement and nothing more.
I really think so.
Because they
Okay.
both benefit from being in that relationship.
Yeah, but Tom doesn't benefit that much, it seems.
Yeah, that's true because he did still, despite being his son-in-law, Logan did still make him the boar.
Right, it's kind of like
So,
it's almost worse to be in the family, I think, than
yeah.
just outside.
If you're a business demon like Carl, for example,
Yep.
you probably could just quit, right? Right? Can they force you to stay? I don't know. It feels like it'd be easier to detach yourself from whatever the fuck.
Connor's a meme now. The con heads are loving this. I hate it. But he says, speaking of Connor, it turns out his money is a lot less liquid than it probably needs to be, which we thought, I said it early in the season, like, I don't think he has money. I think they have property and like stocks.
Not to mention that it seems like whatever liquid assets he does have, he funnels into Napoleon
The
dicks and things of that
stupidest,
sort.
the stupidest pet projects possible. And like he wouldn't even give up his campaign for his dad to give him like $100 million, which Logan doesn't have, by the way. I want to be clear. I don't think Logan has a spare 100 mil. Like he's kind of desperate in business talks lately, and I don't think you've got it, buddy. But even for 100 million, Connor's like, but Dad, I want to be president. It seems so fun.
Papa. Oh god, yeah, the
Yeah,
Connor storyline, like I is arguably, I mean, I don't think it's bad narratively. I just think it's the least enjoyable, and that could speak to our current political climate and how it's affecting us. But I just think in general, I don't know, it's not as fun as the sort of interconnectedness of the rest of the siblings and the
Yeah,
father.
it just feels stupid.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's probably the point, right? Because that's probably what happens when you have like a handful of kids and you're very rich.
There's going to be someone pursuing something completely asinine. Look at Brian Johnson with his I'm going to live forever and all that shit. Like Connor is that guy.
Oh my God, this Reddit comment brought back a line I had forgotten when Greg says to Ken, I know things. It would be wise to keep me around.
From the season 1 finale.
Yes, I completely forgot about that. This person is like, Ken was listening, like keeping Greg close, giving Greg that massive apartment. He's had him in his back pocket. And then somebody called what happened between Logan and Ken the Judas kiss.
We should talk about that moment actually, because we were too busy like fist pumping and singing Celebrate Good Times to really notice the intricacies of Logan's expression at the end.
We did it!
Celebrate good times, come on! Many people pointed out to us there was kind of a little smirk on his face. And so the implication is that, like, yeah, he's being screwed over by Kendall in that moment, but he also kind of like, it's like when a bully wants to get a reaction out of you. It's like, put up a fight. Come on. Like, I want you to spar with me. I don't want you to just sort of like take it, which I gotta be honest, that makes the moment a little bit less sweet to me. I'm like, I don't want Logan to be even a little bit happy. So I hate that he smiled.
I know. I don't want him to experience a moment of happiness. It's like that curse from Buffy. If he experiences a moment of true happiness, he gets his soul back. This Reddit comment, I want to call back to something we talked about around like the saints and the popes, right? From the references before. Yeah. This person says a lot of biblical references in this episode, like talk of sacrificial lamb, Ken in the cross position in the pool, Greg getting his feet cleaned, Logan literally talking about his Catholic roots, Jerry inadvertently calling Ken the firstborn while Connor is the firstborn. And then people get into like, Abraham already had a son before Isaac. He slept with a servant. After Isaac was born, Abraham cast away the firstborn and his mother. So it fits the Connor and Kendall dynamic. I don't know, man. Not a biblical scholar. I just think there are a lot of references to some kind of Catholicism, Christianity, historical thing. That's so interesting.
That is. I was so caught up in the parallels to the first episode, which are also there, but I wasn't thinking about the religious symbolism. Yeah.
This person says, really love that after all of Jerry's mentorship to Roman this season, he was able to come through on his half of the partnership tonight and stood up for her when her neck was on the line. She
didn't really have to help him get named as
That's true, COO, but she CEO, has whatever. Been helping him. Like in little pockets during the season, like talk to this person, do this, should we do this?
We can say what we will about the sexual dynamics at play, but she is one of the few people he can actually speak openly to, because we saw him try to connect with his siblings and they were like, oh, we can talk about siblings.
Tom went full hound, as in Game of Thrones hound, and ate all the goddamn chicken.
I'm gonna have to eat every fucking chicken in this room.
I love that.
So good.
That is, yeah, a lot of people praising the acting, of course. Jeremy Strong and his absolute like ice in his veins. I don't even know how he does it. He is like living that role.
He's so good.
All season, he has been like ice in his veins, except for the brief moments where he has tried to connect with people, which are some of my favorites.
So we're going to talk about some of our favorite acting moments of the show this season.
I mean, I was already praising Jeremy Strong, but like the ability to show like when he's asking his mom if he can talk, the slightest bits of like vulnerability and hope in his face.
Hey, Mom, something I've done that I don't feel great about.
Bit tired for home truths.
Right.
Contrasted with like when he's on screen at the end and it's just like the gate has closed.
Another favorite of mine that we were just talking about was similarly with him trying to talk to Shiv. I think it's episode like 3 or 4 maybe.
Mhm.
And she's kind of like, what are you talking about? Why are you being serious? And then she like actually her face changing in that moment
Yeah,
too,
she's
of
like,
realizing,
oh.
yeah.
And then they have a hug, but it like she can't, I say can't or won't like be vulnerable with anyone for real. I kept calling it her villain arc this season because I think she's squashing her humanity. And
Yeah.
that scene with Tom, really every personal scene with her and Tom this season was kind of the same message, right? He was saying it in small ways at first, but like, how can we forget one of the not best scenes, but most telling scenes is during the crisis at the office, and Shiv walks into an emergency room that does not have her husband, and she does not give a fuck.
And another scene that really is telling of their relationship dynamics this season. And I swear I don't mean for these all to be like emotionally devastating scenes, but just kind of so happens that they are, is when Tom comes back from being born on the floor and realizes that Shiv fucked somebody while he was away, and the change in his face.
Yes. There's
It
so
was
much
so well
face
done.
acting going on here. Everyone's so subtle that you can tell they're really thinking like, what would someone's face look like when they are feeling this, right? Because this isn't like natural stuff. They're really trying to communicate this to us. We probably don't give the actor playing Greg enough credit for being like the right mix of like doofy and ambitious, but he really hits that perfectly.
Oh man, I feel like we've seen such an evolution from him too, because he still has that thread of I kind of like don't know what's going on,
Yeah.
but we do see that he's more savvy than that, and we've seen the progression from Tom being like, "Let me teach you how to be rich," to like all of a sudden him being like, "Oh wait, I can make a power play too."
Yeah, that's really interesting. Okay, I have to read this Reddit comment. It is morbidly poetic that they decide to hold a conference on a mega yacht to decide who will get killed / take the fall for the cover-ups of people getting killed on cruises.
Oh my god, how did we not even fucking see that, dude?
Right.
I mean, we had the whole like walk the plank thing, like
I know, but it's so because it was so in our faces, we were looking for subtlety.
Yeah. Oh my, wait a minute. So maybe we were right about the reason that Greg was on the helicopter, because he's like the no real person in this situation.
Oh my god, yeah. You're probably right. Also, somebody responded to that saying the thing I said was just Shiv arranging a threesome with an employee during a like company scandal is so funny.
It's actually so funny. Like
And
this
villainous.
is how
like right, like
I don't know how the show does it, because it's like they achieve humor through making things hyperbolic, but they're also still realistic somehow. Like it's in the world of the show.
Well, because the way Shiv and Tom were talking about it was not exaggerated. It was like a very real conversation you'd have. So the situation is exaggerated, but like the people are being people.
Yeah.
Which is what makes it believable. So we talked a little bit about the title of the finale, and people on Reddit are asking like, what does it mean? You know, this is not for tears, because we also talked about how like the finale titles are different than the regular episode titles, which is true. So this person says, the title aptly depicts the ending of the episode that I should have foreseen. Kendall is the heart of the show. Without him, the show loses its emotional impact for me, which is what I was saying when I was like, if he goes to prison, I'm fucking done. My interpretation of the title is that there is no room for error or hopes or romanticisms, only to go for the gut. That is the only way to play this game and have ultimate power, to go in for the kill. No half measures, no semblance of humanity or emotions attached to family or honor. The show is all about power and how far they're willing to go to attain it, because it's not going to be done the right way.
Interesting. Yeah, it speaks to Kendall's storyline, but I also think it speaks to Shiv and Tom's storyline, because Tom does have a moment of vulnerability on the beach where he's like, hey, what the fuck was that? Like, how did, like, he kind of lets it go. Like he tells her the things that he's been holding on to, but then he does the same thing where he like buttons up. He's like, I'm going to talk to Logan, and he eats the fucking chicken, and that's it. this is maybe a bit more levity. Our favorite lines, our favorite, they don't have to be humorous, but I think the lines that stick out to us are funny ones.
Everything Roman says that is in jest.
The material for our second remix was Chef's Kiss.
What was that? The ding dong dipshit.
Ding dong doodle bug dipshit. Ding dong doodle bug dipshit.
And I mean, we can't forget rocking some horny ankle cleavage.
Also, sales out, nails out. Is that a thing rich people really say? Let us know in the comments.
It's part of my vernacular now.
No shoes on the teak floorboards. Marcia just had it refloored or whatever the fuck.
I also, there's no way I'm going to be able to say and remember every word, but Stewie's whole like, oh, I'm going to shove my hand up your asshole.
And then push it up your cunt until poo-poo pops out of my nose hole.
I think Tom saying,
I wonder if the sad I'd be without you would be less than the sad I get from being with you.
He was like really trying to not say something shitty, but also be like, I hate this.
It was his roundabout way of maybe even realizing in the moment, like, I'm not happy. Speaking of Tom, another classic line, we here for you.
I love we here for you.
Because this is what I mean, like the absurdity, but also realistic, because I can see a fucking Amazon or whatever coming out with that kind of shit.
It's very Silicon Valley, right? Okay, I have forgotten some of these season 2 quotes because they're so old. When Roman said, so what are you going to do? Get that and Hitler's nutsack blended into a takeover smoothie?
Also, I think this show moves so fast that sometimes we miss some of these gems. So I'm glad that people have captured them.
And then I remember one we laughed at, sad laugh. Look at you, you broken robot. You can't even hug your own kids. Yeah, I saw that, you freak. Like, it's a sad laugh because clearly it's like an awkward, why are you saying that?
There was another good line that one of our commenters pointed out with Marcia saying at that banquet, you've been careless of me.
Oh, yeah, that's a good line. She's so mad. Okay, wait. I don't remember these quotes, and I need to say them. They're all Roman.
Yes.
I jerked off in Jerry's bathroom last night. It's okay. Don't worry about it. It was actually her idea.
Yes, that was at breakfast the next day, and he was like, I'll just say it because no one will believe me.
Right, and then in the next episode, he says, nice vest, Wamsgans. It's so puffy. What's it stuffed with? Your hopes and dreams?
Damn it, Roman.
Are your nips hard? They must be because you're so out in the cold. Okay, but that was a funny one.
It was funny, but also gross because he was talking to his sister.
I think he would have said it to anybody, though.
Yeah, he would have. He totally would have. Damn. Oh, I just remembered a fantastic line. I forget who said it. I think it was Frank. It was after Tom's disastrous testimony.
Oh, yeah.
If I was to give Tom a letter grade, I'd give him a B+ for bad plus terrible.
And then Fisher Stevens, I forget his character's name, said,
yeah. What is it like to be married to a man with 2 assholes?
Another Roman one. I think this might be the end of the company.
We might get sucked into a black hole embarrassment that we never get out of.
And that's after Kendall raps.
L to the OG. Dude be the OG. A-N he play.
I mean, I can't believe we forgot about that as the best scene of the season.
I can't.
Actually.
It really, really, really was. And I don't know if the show is, I fear that the show will never top that.
Oh, and final quote I'll say. Greg Sprinkles.
What precisely are Greg Sprinkles?
But I did really want him to say, excuse me, that's my porn name.
Yeah.
And then Roman would be like, you doing porn? You make good money on that?
And Greg's like, well, to afford my apartment, I needed a side gig, so I started an OnlyFans, and people have really been responding to it.
Oh my God. And then tie it back to like, yeah, what do you show? Those giant feet? And he's like, well, people do like the feet, actually. I was really surprised.
Dude, him manicuring his nasty feet is probably like a niche interest. I'm sure that would do well for some people. And, live and let live.
Sorry, now I want to make a short where we like pretend to be Greg at this point where he's like, well, the apartment Ken got me is really nice, but it's like really expensive and Tom doesn't really pay me. Like he leaves nuts outside on my desk sometimes. I'm like, that's really it.
And like sometimes he'll leave like a little threatening note with the nuts.
Right. And then sometimes there's just the note. And then I eat the paper.
Should we drop some predictions for season 3? I mean, we talked about this a little bit after the finale, but what do we think is awaiting us?
Okay, Shiv is the only kid in the inner circle right now, right? Connor got the title, but he's not really in with Logan the way, like, we have gone from at the beginning of the season, remember, like, Shiv was trying to chase down Logan and couldn't meet with him, and now she's, like, sitting next to him on the couch with no one else, and Marcia's even gone.
And she's even saying lines as though they were written for Logan, like, oh, poor bastard. Like, that's something
right,
Logan
like
would say.
it feels like she is trying to ascend into that. And I don't know, Logan doesn't have a lot of friends left, and so he might turn to her, but I think with the Tom stuff, it's like very tortured. Tom might try to leave. I don't know, her or the company or both.
Yeah, I could almost see, now that you mention Shiv kind of being in the inner circle, there could be a kind of a power battle between her and Roman in the sense that, like, I don't think Roman really trusts himself, but I think he will resent Shiv being like a de facto leader above him. So there might be a little bit of a struggle there.
Well, I don't think at the level they're working, neither of them has experience.
True.
And their dad has not mentored them in business. So why would they be confident leading this like gigantic ship of a company that is also half failing and going through scandal?
Okay, that's another thing is they never showed us Greg's full testimony to the congressional
the people
committee.
In line were like, I will pay $1 million to see Greg's testimony.
Give me more of, if it is to be said, then so it shall be.
It is so.
Like, I want that for the entertainment value, but also there's no bow put on that. Like, we don't know if there's going to be more repercussions. We know that Shiv successfully got the victim to step down from testifying, but
here's the thing. Even if the congressional testimony is over, and I'm not sure it is, because I think they made Gil into an even bigger enemy now. Right? Like, Gil before was going after Logan. Now he's going to be going after all of them. Shiv walking in trying to be like, okay, here's what we'll give you. Girl, you are not in a position of power. No, like, she's just like Logan, just makes enemies, no friends, no allies.
She really is. I stand by what I said, that at least at this point in time, she is the most like Logan than
she is.
Kids.
I feel like we've gotten the least about her internal life, because we saw Roman with some like paramours this season, but Shiv and Tom, it's like we don't know what happens. Yeah. It's like they go back in the box at night. We don't know what Shiv wants. I think that's what's so hard to know, like, where she might go is, I don't think she wants to be a villain, but she absolutely wants her father's approval.
For sure.
I think Kendall also wanted that and is now, like, he just got pushed too far and he's like, I don't want it anymore.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean anything. And Roman's in the middle, right? He's like, yes, I think this is bullshit, but I still feel like I want to prove myself to this person.
That's why I feel like Roman is going to end up not exactly in the same way, but I think he's going to end up on a similar trajectory of Kendall, because whoever's in that lead position is going to get pushed too far by Logan, because he can't just let go.
He won't not push, right? Like, that's what we've seen is he pushed Rhea out by leaving her out of things, by having talks without her, by not letting her in on what's really happening. He pushed her out. He pushed Kendall out. He is almost pushing like Jerry and Frank and Jamie and like all the people, right? He's just like pushing them further, but he's not gaining any allies, and he's considering these shady business deals. It seems like the Titanic, and I mean that intentionally to say it may take hours and hours and hours to actually sink, right?
Yeah. And lest we forget, there are their own sort of internal dynamics that could collapse from the inside, but we also have these external forces who are kind of battling them.
Where is Lawrence? Are Lawrence and Stewie hanging out? I hope
Where's
so.
Lawrence? That would be incredible.
Yes.
I'm very excited to see Kendall's storyline in season 3 because as great as the acting was in season 2, it was very hard to see him like that the entire season. And so we're going to
Oh my God.
he's still going to be grappling with a lot of shit, obviously, but like we're going to see something different for him, that they were teeing that up, right? And also it can't just be him and Greg. He's going to have to assemble a bit of an army, right? So like Frank, Stewie.
Well, that's what we talked about earlier or at the end of last season. I can't remember, where we were like, we need the non-Roy like Avengers. Pull all these people, and you have now so much more influence and money, probably, quite frankly, than what Logan has alone. And I feel like that's what's going to happen. And then it just kind of sucks because Shiv is probably going to get glass cliffed as a woman to be put on top of like a failing company once Logan realizes he's losing it. If she doesn't like talk to Rhea and be like, why did you walk away? Maybe there's a future conversation that I don't know if we're done with Rhea.
I hope we're not, because I feel like there's more there that
I really liked her. And I think now she's like in their business, right? So like she'll be floating around somewhere. Maybe she'll talk to Congress. We don't know what Gil's going to do. And Gil's trying to be president and Connor's trying to be president. So you know Gil is going to hammer that home.
I'm scared to speak this into existence, but I fear that we will see a presidential debate between Gil and Connor.
Oh my God. That would be hilarious.
I just see it, and I don't want it, but I fear it is coming.
All right, don't spoil us, everybody, but maybe we're on to something. Okay, last thing. This isn't really a prediction, but a thing I'd like to see. I want some kind of holiday episode. I don't care if it's July 4th. I don't care if it's Valentine's Day. I would love it to be Thanksgiving or Christmas, but give me not a regular Monday, right? Give me something that's not the norm.
They gave us, it was Thanksgiving, right? When in season 1 when he hit Kendall's child.
It didn't really feel like Thanksgiving. It just felt like another dinner at their house. I want something that like breaks the patterns. There's no way Logan comes downstairs in pajamas on Christmas morning, but like what does happen? Or like, is July 4th another yacht and fireworks and everybody gets like fucking wasted?
Oh my God. There's going to be some mishaps with fireworks.
That's what I mean.
Dude, you saying that also reminded me that Kendall has children and an ex-wife. And I wonder / hope that maybe there can be some repair. I'm being way too optimistic about Kendall here, but I hope that there can be some repair there, maybe.
It's possible. The kids aren't going to understand what's going on with Kendall going on the news and being like, my father is literally a monster. But like over time, as they get older, they'll see that like, that's some complicated family shit, right?
Yeah, they'll work it out in therapy for sure.
Maybe. They'll be able to afford therapy. Okay.
Yeah, of course.
Do we think, okay, this is the worst thing to speak into existence.
Oh no.
But you know how Shiv and Tom are a terrible couple with a lot of problems. Do you think they will go for a baby to pretend that they're fine?
Oh no. Yes, of course they will, because that's what always happens is they're like, our relationship is struggling.
Let's add a baby to this.
Oh no.
Let's add sleep deprivation, a lack of free time and interest in each other, and something that screams and poops every day.
The only sort of solace I take in that is that they're not raising that kid. It's going to be a series of
so many nannies.
Hopefully very nice nannies who All right, so maybe we should end on this. What should Shiv and Tom name their inevitable child?
Nixon.
I hate that that's so perfect. I'm not even going to offer another suggestion. That's it.
It's gender neutral.
Whatever, exactly. Whatever gender, that name works. Fuck.
And then they would make like I am not a crook, but they'd be like I am not a crook. They'd hold up the baby.
God.
Okay, anyway, we gotta go.
And then instead of like Watergate, it'll say like Wawa Gate or like Baba Gate or something.
Wait, cut that because that's our future baby merch. Shut up. Nobody steal it. Nobody take it.
here's the mail, it never fails. It makes me wanna wag my tail.
When it comes, I wanna wail. Mail! Oh my God.